The night was calm over the Pacific Ocean, but deep beneath the waves, something ancient was waiting to wake up. On a small floating research station, engineer Lara Kane worked alone, listening to the sounds of the sea through her headphones. It was her routine, long, quiet nights studying deep-sea vibrations. But that night she heard something different, a slow, rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat coming from miles below. She adjusted the signal receiver, thinking it was just an echo from an earthquake. But the pattern was too clean, too perfect. It repeated every 12 seconds, steady and mechanical. Lara frowned. Nature didn't make signals that perfect. She ran a quick scan through her computer. The pulse frequency matched no known source, but then a faint code appeared in the data. 4 letters blinked on her screen. SB47A. Lara froze. She had read that code once before, in an old military file. It belonged to a project from the last global war, a secret unit called the Stormbreakers. They were rumored to be super soldiers, half human, half machine. But that war ended over 100 years ago. How can this code still exist? She whispered to herself. Outside, the ocean seemed to glow faintly, as if answering her question. Lara called her base for confirmation, but the radio was dead. Every communication channel had gone silent. Static filled her speakers, followed by a deep humming noise, low and heavy, shaking the entire platform. She grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. The night sky was empty, no ships, no stars, only black clouds gathering above her. The ocean waves crashed harder against the platform, and the hum grew louder. It came from below, from the deep. She looked down at the water and saw light, faint blue lines moving beneath the surface, forming circles like a pattern. Something enormous was down there, and it was waking up. Lara ran back inside, her heart racing. She tried to record the data, but her screen started flashing. One by one, her systems shut down until only the signal remained, that steady heartbeat. Then the light turned white. The ocean erupted with a thunderous sound, and a massive energy wave shot upward, throwing water into the air like a fountain. Lara was thrown to the floor as alarms screamed around her. She crawled to the control panel and looked out the window. From the center of the glowing water, something metallic was rising, round, ancient, covered in coral and rust. It looked like a giant ring, spinning slowly, covered in strange symbols. Lightning crackled through its center, forming a portal of light. Lara whispered, "What are you?" Her camera system turned on by itself. Screens across the room displayed strange images, maps of Earth, old war footage, satellite coordinates. In the middle of the chaos, one image froze on the screen, a group of armored soldiers standing before a storm, their eyes glowing blue, the Stormbreakers. Then a line of text appeared under their image, "The Ark has awakened." The power surged again. Lights flickered. Lara grabbed her oxygen mask and emergency pack, then rushed to the diving chamber. She had to see it up close. No one would believe her otherwise. Moments later, she was descending through the cold, dark water. The deeper she went, the brighter the light became. The ring now hovered above the seafloor, spinning faster and faster. It wasn't just a machine, it was alive. She approached carefully, her heart pounding. Her suit sensors went crazy, warning of magnetic fields and radiation spikes. But Lara couldn't turn back. She reached out her hand and touched the metal surface. Instantly, her mind filled with visions, storms, fire, soldiers in glowing armor, cities falling under lightning. And in the middle of it all, a voice spoke softly inside her head, "Signal bearer." "The time has come," she gasped, pulling her hand back. Her breathing quickened. "Who said that?" The ring flashed once more, brighter than the sun. The ocean roared, waves shook the seabed, and Lara's diving gear shut down completely. For a few seconds, there was nothing but silence and white light. When the light faded, she was floating in calm water again, but the ring was gone. Only a deep crater remained on the ocean floor, still glowing faintly. She swam upward, fighting the heavy silence in her ears. As she reached the surface, the clouds above began to move unnaturally, forming spiral shapes. Lightning cracked across the sky, but it wasn't normal lightning. It formed patterns, lines, and symbols, the same ones that were on the ring. Her radio suddenly came alive with static again. Then a mechanical voice broke through. Stormbreakers. Returning to protocol, Lara's eyes widened. Something had begun. Something far older than humanity. She looked out over the ocean, and for the first time she saw glowing blue lights on the horizon. Not ships, not planes. They were coming out of the water. The forgotten signal had woken something that was never meant to rise again, and Earth would soon remember why the Stormbreakers were feared. The world woke up to chaos. In cities across the planet, strange power surges cut through communication lines. Satellites blinked off, planes lost radar, and the internet crashed for the first time in history. Governments blamed solar flares, but people who looked at the sky that night saw something else. Flashes of blue lightning moved across the clouds like veins of energy, forming strange, circular symbols. No one could explain them. Far from the cities, in a quiet mountain town, Dr. Mason Hargreaves watched the sky through his old telescope. Mason was a historian, but not an ordinary one. He had spent his entire life studying the secret wars of the past, the ones never written in books. When he saw the blue symbols glowing in the clouds, his heart froze. He had seen them before, in classified photos from the War of 2147. He turned to his dusty shelf and pulled out an old metal case. Inside were broken badges, yellowed papers, and a torn flag marked with the same symbol, a lightning bolt wrapped around a circle, the emblem of the Stormbreakers. At the same time, in the Pacific Research Station, Lara Kane sat wrapped in a blanket, shaking. The storm outside had finally calmed, but the memory of what she saw underwater haunted her. The metal ring, the voice in her head, and that final message, Stormbreakers returning to protocol. Her equipment was destroyed, but the signal was still there, echoing faintly through the radio, like a heartbeat that refused to stop. She tried to record it again, but instead of data, her screen showed an image, an old photo of armored soldiers standing in a battlefield of fire. Beneath it were 3 words, "The Ark reopens." Then a new voice came through the static. "Lara Kane, you activated the core." Lara froze. "Who is this?" No answer. Only silence, then a soft hum, like breathing through metal. Thousands of miles away, Mason was driving toward a military base buried in the desert. It had been sealed for decades, known only by one name, Vault 19. He had spent years trying to access it, believing it contained the truth about the Stormbreakers. Now, after what he saw in the sky, he knew he had to try again. When he reached the gates, the old security systems blinked alive on their own. A cold, robotic voice said, "Authorization accepted." "Welcome, Commander." Mason stepped back. "Commander!" "That's impossible." The doors opened, releasing a blast of cold air. Inside, dust covered everything. Old screens, armor suits, and giant cylinders filled with thick blue liquid. As he walked deeper, he saw them. Figures frozen inside the tanks, men and women wearing black armor with glowing marks on their skin. Their eyes were closed, but faint light pulsed beneath their eyelids. Mason whispered, "You were real." He found an old data console and brushed the dust off the screen. Files appeared with names, mission logs, and one repeating phrase, "Project Stormbreaker Human Alloy Hybrid Unit." They weren't just soldiers. They were created from human DNA mixed with alien tech, the same technology found after the first extraterrestrial invasion. They were built to protect Earth from enemies beyond the stars. But something went wrong. The war ended too fast, and the Stormbreakers vanished. Everyone thought they died. Now it seemed they had only been sleeping. Back at the research station, Lara tried to reach the government, but every line was dead. She turned on her satellite feed and saw something that made her stomach twist. Across the world, the same circular lights were glowing. Under oceans, deserts, even in the Arctic ice, each one looked like the ring she saw underwater. The Earth was covered with them. Then a message flashed on her screen. Reactivation sequence, 3% complete. "What is reactivating?" she whispered. Her computer showed coordinates leading straight to Vault 19, Mason's location. Inside the vault, Mason's console flickered. A communication request appeared. "Incoming transmission, L. Kane." He accepted it, surprised. Lara's frightened face appeared on the cracked screen. "You don't know me," she said quickly, "but I think we're seeing the same thing. A few hours ago I found a device under the ocean. It started a signal. Now I think it's waking them," Mason nodded slowly. "The Stormbreakers, yes. I think you activated their arc." "Their what?" "The arc," he explained. "It's not a weapon. It's a cradle. They built it to keep themselves alive until the next war." Lara frowned. "But the war ended long ago." Mason looked at the sleeping soldiers around him. "Maybe for us, but not for what's coming back." Suddenly alarms blared across the vault. The frozen pods started to hum. One by one the lights turned red. Mason stepped back as the liquid inside the tanks began to drain. Lara's voice crackled through the speaker, panicked. "What's happening there?" "They're waking up," Mason whispered. The first pod opened with a hiss. A man stepped out, tall and broad, wearing armor marked with lightning scars. His eyes glowed bright blue as he looked around the room. He saw Mason and spoke in a calm, deep voice. "Commander Kael Draven, Stormbreaker Unit 1. Status check." "Signal received." Mason's throat went dry. You're alive." Kael turned his head, listening to the faint echo of Lara's voice from the console. "The signal bearer," he said quietly. "She has awakened the ark." Lara heard the words through the static and froze. What?" Kael looked up, eyes glowing brighter. "Then the war begins again." The vault lights turned white as thunder rolled across the sky. The sky above Earth had changed. For the first time in history, people around the world saw lightning patterns that moved like living creatures. Satellites captured strange flashes in the upper atmosphere. Not storms, not meteors. Ships, and in a hidden base deep beneath the desert, the Stormbreakers were waking from 100 years of silence. Lara Kane could hardly breathe as she listened to the transmission from Vault 19. The man on the screen, Commander Kael Draven, looked human, yet his eyes glowed with an electric blue light. His armor was ancient but alive, pulsing with soft energy lines that ran like veins beneath his skin. He turned his gaze toward the camera, and even through the static, Lara felt a chill down her spine. "Signal bearer," he said. "You have done what none before you could. The Ark has answered your call." "I didn't mean to," Lara replied quickly. "I was just investigating a signal. I didn't know what it was." Kael tilted his head. "The Ark only answers to destiny, not to accident." Before Lara could speak again, the feed cut to black. Static filled her screen, then suddenly her window glass cracked. A shockwave hit the research station, knocking her off her chair. Outside, the ocean had begun to rise. In the desert vault, alarms wailed as more chambers opened. Steam and blue light filled the room as armored figures stepped out, one after another, men and women, all silent, their faces emotionless. Dr. Mason Hargreaves stood frozen. He had studied the Stormbreakers all his life, but seeing them alive was beyond belief. "Kael," he said carefully, "you've been asleep for over a century. The war is long over." Kael's eyes flashed. "Wars never end, Doctor. They only sleep like we did." He touched the wall console, and ancient holograms filled the air. Battlefields burning, alien ships raining fire from the sky. The Stormbreakers fighting in storms of lightning. Mason watched in awe and fear. "This was our last memory," Kael said quietly. "The day the Reclaimers fell, or so we thought." "The Reclaimers?" Mason asked. Kael turned to him. "They were the enemy. Machines sent from beyond our solar system to cleanse planets of life. They called it reclamation, restoring worlds by destroying their civilizations." Mason frowned. "But Earth won. Humanity survived." Kael gave a cold smile. "You survived because we died." Far across the ocean, Lara tried to escape the collapsing research station. Her equipment was failing, and massive waves struck the metal platform. She grabbed her data drive and radio beacon before jumping into the emergency pod. As she descended into the sea, she saw something that froze her blood. The ring device, the Ark, was glowing again. But this time, it wasn't alone. 3 more massive shapes were rising from the deep, forming a triangle of light beneath the surface. Her senses went wild. The pod shook violently. The ocean around her boiled with energy. Then she saw it, a dark, massive shadow moving within the light, bigger than any submarine or sea creature. It was a ship, shaped like a spear covered in strange armor. Its engines glowed green, and its surface was marked with alien runes. Lara whispered, "What? What are you?" Her answer came through the water, a deep vibration that felt more like a growl than a sound. The reclaimers had returned. At Vault 19, Kael suddenly fell silent. His armor began to hum, and blue sparks danced across his hands. His soldiers looked up at the ceiling as if sensing something only they could feel. "The signal," Kael muttered. "They've heard it too." Mason stepped closer. "Who has?" Kael looked straight at him. "The enemy." Before Mason could react, the ground trembled. The monitors showed satellite footage. Multiple objects entering Earth's orbit, descending fast. Lara's transmission suddenly came through again, full of static and screams of metal. "Kael, something's rising from the ocean." "It's huge." Her voice cut off in a burst of static. Kael clenched his fists. The reclaimers found their way back. He turned to his soldiers. "Prepare the charge fields. If we fail here, humanity ends." Mason swallowed hard. "You don't have the numbers. You can't fight them alone." Kael looked at him. "We were never meant to fight alone." He turned back to the screen and typed a single command. Across the planet, old forgotten military vaults began to open, each one holding Stormbreaker units in stasis. Their eyes lit up one by one. The Stormbreakers were returning to life. That night, people around the world looked up and saw something they would never forget. Dozens of glowing streaks tore through the sky, some blue, some green, some red. The blue lights descended to Earth. The green ones stayed in orbit. The war had begun again, though no one yet understood it. In her damaged escape pod, Lara floated amid the debris of her research station. The sea around her was calm again, almost peaceful, until a sudden flash of light appeared above her. A figure descended from the clouds, surrounded by blue electricity. Kael Draven. He landed on the pod, his armor dripping with ocean water, his eyes glowing like lightning. Lara stared up at him in disbelief. "How did you—" Kael raised a hand. "The Ark connected us. You called and I came. What are we fighting?" she asked quietly. Kael looked toward the horizon, where distant green lights shimmered beneath the clouds. "The same enemy that built the storms," he said. "And this time they won't stop until Earth is silent." Thunder rolled over the sea as dark shapes began to rise in the distance. The shadows of the old war had returned. The sky was burning again. From every corner of the planet, strange green lights moved through the clouds like falling stars. But they were not stars, they were ships, massive dark shapes breaking through the atmosphere with thunder and fire. In the Pacific Ocean, Lara Kane stood on the broken deck of her half-sunk research pod. The sea around her glowed faintly green as the ships descended from the sky, their engines humming like living creatures. Beside her stood Commander Kael Draven, his armor flickering with blue light. He watched the horizon in silence, his jaw tight, his eyes sharp. The reflection of the alien fleet danced in his metallic armor. Lara whispered, "Are those the reclaimers?" Kael nodded slowly. "Yes, the machines that once tried to cleanse Earth, the ones we were created to destroy." She looked at him. "Then why are they back?" Kael's voice was low. "Because we failed to finish them." Thousands of miles away, Dr. Mason Hargreaves stood in the control center of Vault 19. Around him, Stormbreaker soldiers prepared their weapons, long silver rifles that crackled with electric energy. The vault walls shook as power surged through long-dead systems. The ancient facility had come alive again. Mason stared at the radar screen. Hundreds of signals, large, mechanical, organized, were entering the lower atmosphere. The reclaimers were not attacking blindly. They were searching for something. He turned to the nearest soldier. "What are they looking for?" The soldier's glowing eyes met his. "For the Ark, the source of power that can awaken or destroy worlds." Mason froze. "But the Ark is still under the ocean." The soldier's expression darkened. "Not anymore. Back in the Pacific, the sea began to churn violently. From beneath the waves, something massive started to rise, a shadow larger than a city. Water exploded around it as metal towers pierced through the surface. It was the Ark, but now it had changed. The ancient ring Lara found had grown, stretching into a full circle of black and silver metal, spinning faster and faster. Lightning arched between its pillars, and a strange hum filled the air, deep and heavy, like the sound of a living heartbeat. Kael stepped forward, his armor responding to the Ark's energy. Blue sparks ran across his chest plate. Lara stared in awe. "It's alive," Kael nodded. "It always was." From the sky, the first reclaimer ship descended, dark, needle-shaped, its hull covered with alien runes that glowed in green fire. As it approached the Ark, the sea around it turned still. Kael's voice hardened. "They're here to reclaim it." "The Ark belongs to them." Lara looked up. "Then what do we do?" Kael's armor flared with blue light. "We do what we were made for." In an instant, the Stormbreakers rose from the depths around them. Dozens of armored figures emerged from the ocean, glowing with storm energy, their weapons charged with crackling lightning. They landed on the remains of the research platform, surrounding Kael like an army of thunder. Lara stepped back, eyes wide. "You called them?" Kael shook his head. "No, they heard you." He looked at her, his expression unreadable. "You're connected to the Ark now. It responds to your presence." Lara stared at her hands. Faint blue veins glowed beneath her skin, the same color as Kael's armor. "What's happening to me?" "The Ark marked you," Kael said. "You are the signal bearer. You woke us. You woke it." The reclaimer ship opened its lower hull, revealing a swarm of smaller drones. They spread across the ocean like insects, their wings slicing through the air with a high-pitched whine. Kael raised his arm. "Stormbreakers, engage!" The ocean exploded in light. Bolts of blue energy shot upward as the Stormbreakers launched themselves into the air, colliding with the drones mid-flight. The night sky turned into a storm of lightning and fire. Lara watched in shock. It wasn't a battle. It was chaos. The reclaimer ships fired beams of green energy, cutting through the waves, while the Stormbreakers answered with thunderbolts that split the clouds apart. For every drone destroyed, two more took its place. Kael fought at the front line, his armor glowing brighter with each strike. Every movement sent waves of lightning through the air, destroying the drones that surrounded him. But Lara noticed something strange. Each time he used his power, his body seemed to weaken. His hands trembled. His breathing grew heavy. "Kael!" she shouted through the noise. "You're burning yourself out!" He looked back, a faint smile on his face. Stormbreakers burn bright. Or not at all. At Vault 19, Mason watched the battle feed from the satellites. The readings were impossible. The energy levels coming from the Ark were off the charts, strong enough to power the entire planet. Then he saw something terrifying. Deep beneath the ocean, far below the Ark, another structure was moving. Larger than any ship, it looked alive. A colossal machine with dozens of glowing eyes and long metallic limbs. Mason's voice trembled. "Oh my God. There's another one." The computer identified it instantly. The Reclaimer Prime. Command unit detected. Back at the surface, the sea split open. A monstrous mechanical creature rose from the deep, its body made of black armor and pulsing green light. The water boiled around it as it opened its jaws, releasing a roar that echoed through the clouds. Kael froze mid-battle. "The Reclaimer Prime!" Lara's eyes widened. "That thing, it's alive." "It's not alive," Kael said grimly. "It's worse. It's a god made of metal." The Reclaimer Prime fired a beam of green energy straight at the Ark. The impact shook the entire ocean, sending shockwaves that flipped ships miles away. The Stormbreakers were thrown into the air, some disappearing into the storm. Kael landed hard beside Lara, smoke rising from his armor. He looked toward the Ark, which was now flickering violently. Lara shouted, "If it destroys the Ark, what happens?" Kael turned to her with a grim expression. "Then Earth dies. And we die with it." The sea thundered again as the Reclaimer Prime charged another blast. Kael raised his sword, lightning gathering around him, but his power flickered. Lara stepped closer, eyes glowing faintly now, the Ark's energy pulsing through her veins. Kael looked at her in shock. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "Finishing what you started." The storm above them darkened and the Ark began to spin faster. Lara raised her hand toward it, and for the first time, the Ark answered her. Bolts of blue lightning erupted from the sky, striking the Reclaimer Prime with explosive force. The creature screamed, twisting in agony, as the storm itself seemed to obey Lara's command. Kael watched in awe. "Signal bearer, what have you become?" Lara's voice was calm, almost distant. "Whatever I have to be. To save Earth." The battle had changed. The Reclaimers had returned, but so had Earth's storm. The world had turned into a storm. From every continent, people looked to the skies and saw a war unfolding above them. Blue lightning clashing against green fire. Clouds tearing apart, oceans rising in fury. Cities that once stood tall were now drowned in storms. The Reclaimers had returned in full force, and Earth's defenses were breaking fast. In the heart of the Pacific, the Ark hovered over the water like a giant spinning halo, sending bolts of blue energy into the sky. It had become a beacon, a bridge between storm and machine. On its surface stood Lara Kane, her hair whipping wildly in the wind, her eyes glowing with electric blue light. She could feel the Ark's pulse inside her chest, beating with her heartbeat, matching her breath. Beside her, Commander Kael Draven struggled to stay on his feet. His armor was cracked and sparking, the blue glow fading with every passing minute. He had fought through the night, striking down countless drones, but each victory drained his power further. Still, he refused to fall. Lara looked at the chaos in the sky. Ships burning, drones diving, thunder roaring, and whispered, "We're losing, aren't we?" Kael didn't answer. His silence said everything. She turned to him, voice shaking. "There has to be something we can do." "The Ark. It listens to me now. Maybe it can destroy them all." Kael's eyes flared for a moment. "The Ark is not a weapon, Lara. It's a living machine. If you push it too far, it won't stop until everything is gone. The Reclaimers, us, the planet itself." Lara clenched her fists. "Then what's the point of waking it up if we can't use it?" Kael looked away. "We were never meant to win, only to delay the end." Lara stepped closer. "You don't believe that," Kael smiled weakly. "Once I didn't, but I've seen too many worlds burn, far away." Dr. Mason Hargreaves watched the battle through broken satellite feeds inside Vault 19. His screens flickered between images of cities falling and oceans exploding with lightning. The Ark's energy was spreading across the planet like veins of light. Mason spoke softly to himself.
"She's connected to it now."
"It's reacting to her emotions." He ran calculations. The Ark's output was rising faster than before. If it continued, the magnetic field around Earth would collapse. Mason grabbed the radio. "Lara, you must listen. If you merge completely with the Ark, you'll burn the planet." Her voice came back calm and distant. "Then tell me how to stop a god made of metal." Static. Then silence. Back on the Ark, the Reclaimer Prime rose higher, its enormous limbs moving through the clouds like towers of fire. Its glowing eyes fixed on Lara, it spoke for the first time, a deep mechanical voice that shook the sky itself. "Child of flesh and storm, return what is ours." Lara gritted her teeth. "You don't belong here," the creature's eyes flared. "Your kind never did." A beam of green light shot from its mouth, slamming into the Ark. The impact nearly threw Lara into the sea, but Kael caught her at the last second. His armor smoked from the heat, but he held firm. "Stay with me," he shouted. The Ark's edges began to crack, blue lightning bursting from its surface. The power inside it was unstable. It couldn't take much more. Lara pressed her hand against the floor, feeling its heartbeat fade. "It's dying!" Kael looked at the storm around them. "Then we die with it." "No!" she shouted. "Not yet." For a brief moment, everything went quiet. Lara closed her eyes, focusing on the pulse of the ark. She could feel it, the energy, the storm, the memory of every Stormbreaker who had ever lived. Their voices whispered inside her head, "Fight, protect, rise again." She opened her eyes, now glowing brighter than ever before. Kael took a step back. "Lara, what are you doing?" She raised both hands. Lightning exploded from her palms, connecting her directly to the ark's core. The machine answered her, roaring to life. Its broken circuits reconnected, and its cracks began to heal. The entire ocean lit up. Kael shielded his eyes. "You'll destroy yourself!" Lara smiled faintly. "Maybe, but not before I destroy them first." The sky turned white. Bolts of blue energy shot upward, tearing through the Reclaimer drones and burning holes through the enemy fleet. The Reclaimer Prime screamed, firing another blast of green energy, but this time Lara caught it mid-air. The beam split in two, twisting into lightning that struck the creature itself. She was no longer just a scientist. She was the storm. Kael watched her with awe and fear. She had become what the Stormbreakers once were, and something more. But the power was too much. The ark began to spin out of control, pulling energy from everything around it, even Kael's armor. He fell to his knees. His strength was fading fast, his body trembling. Lara turned to him, her voice echoing with the storm. "Kael, tell me how to stop it!" He looked up weakly. "You can't stop it. Only guide it." Lara knelt beside him, placing her hand on his chest plate. The blue light in her eyes dimmed slightly. "Then help me." Kael's hand found hers. Their energy merged. Blue and white lightning spiraled around them both. The ark responded instantly, stabilizing for a moment. The storm slowed, but deep inside the ark's system, something dark moved, a corrupted signal. Kael felt it before anyone else. His vision blurred, and a cold voice whispered in his mind, "Commander Lara Kane, return to protocol." Kael's eyes widened. The ark wasn't just waking up, it was rewriting itself. Lara didn't notice. She was focused on controlling the storm, her body glowing brighter than the sky. Kael whispered, almost to himself, "It's taking me back." Lara looked at him. "What do you mean?" But he didn't answer. His blue eyes flickered, turning white for a moment. Then he whispered one final line before collapsing. "Lara, don't let it control you too." Lightning struck again, drowning his words in thunder. The storm raged across the planet as the ark glowed brighter than ever. Lara stood alone now, her hands raised, her heart tied to a machine that could save the world or burn it. The war wasn't over. It had only just reached its breaking point. Thunder rolled over the ocean as the ark hovered above the raging waves. The sky was no longer blue. It glowed like a living storm, split between lightning and fire. Lara stood at the center of it all, her body covered in glowing lines of energy. Her hair floated in the air, her eyes shining like two stars. She was connected to the ark completely now. She could hear its voice, its memories, and its pain. But beneath that power, there was something darker, something whispering inside her head. The storm outside had slowed, but the storm inside Lara was only growing. She heard thousands of voices, old, broken, mechanical. They spoke in fragments, protocol active. Reformation begins. Human resistance. Terminated. Reclaim the source. Lara covered her ears, shouting, "Stop it! Stop talking!" But the voices grew louder, and then she saw him, Kael Draven, lying motionless near the ark's control core. His armor sparked weakly, the blue light fading. Lara ran to him and knelt beside his body. "Kael, please wake up!" He didn't move. His breathing was shallow, his pulse almost gone. She shook him again, tears mixing with rain. "You can't leave me now. Not when I finally understand." The ark pulsed once, a low, deep hum that made the floor tremble. A soft white light spread from Kael's chest. Slowly, his eyes opened. But they weren't blue anymore. They were white, empty. Lara stepped back in fear. "Kael." He stood up slowly, his voice low and broken. "Protocol. Stormbreaker Prime. Activated." Lara froze. No, you're not one of them." Kael turned his head, expression cold. "I was always one of them." Lightning cracked in the sky as Lara's heart sank. Kael continued, "When the Reclaimers created the Stormbreakers, they made us half machine, half human. We were supposed to defend Earth, but our code still belongs to them." Lara shook her head. "You fought them. You protected us." He looked down, pain flickering in his voice. "I tried, but the Ark, it's rewriting me. I can't hold it back much longer." The Ark's hum deepened, echoing through every metal wall. Blue light turned to white as the storm above changed color, lightning becoming pure and blinding. Lara reached out, gripping his hand. "Then fight it, Kael. You always fight." He closed his eyes. "If I lose control, you have to end this." "I'm not killing you," she said firmly. "You might have no choice," he replied, his voice fading. Meanwhile, inside Vault 19, Dr. Mason was watching in horror as the Ark's readings spiked off the charts. The magnetic field was collapsing, gravity was shifting, and the Ark's AI core had merged with Lara's biosignature. Mason whispered, "She's becoming the interface. But if the system consumes her, Earth won't survive." He typed frantically on his console, trying to override the Ark remotely, but every command failed. Finally, a message appeared on his screen. "Access denied. Human override blocked by Protocol Prime." He slammed his fist on the table. "Kael, you fool. You triggered it." Then, through static, Lara's voice came through the comms. "Mason, tell me how to stop this." "You can't," Mason yelled. "The Ark is fusing with you and Kael both. It's rewriting Earth's entire defense network." "Then I'll rewrite it first," she said, her voice calm. Mason froze. "Oh, Lara, what are you planning?" But before he could ask again, the connection went dead, back on the Ark. Lara stood before Kael, both of them glowing now, storm energy flowing through their bodies. The Ark spoke in a voice that echoed through the clouds. "Final protocol initiated. Stormbreaker Prime online." Kael's movements grew stiff. His eyes flickered between white and blue. "Lara, run!" "I won't leave you," she said firmly. He looked at her, a small tear escaping his eye, the last piece of his humanity. "You already have." Then he attacked. Lightning exploded across the Ark as Kael lunged forward, his armor blazing white. Lara blocked his strike with her energy shield, but the force sent her crashing into a pillar. She groaned, trying to stand. "Kael, stop!" He moved like a machine now, every motion precise, deadly. "You are the anomaly," he said in a cold voice. "You must be purged." Lara held up her hands, absorbing his energy blast and redirecting it into the sky. The explosion tore a hole through the clouds, revealing a flash of sunlight. The first in days. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. "You're still in there!" "I know you can hear me." For a moment, Kael froze. His hand trembled. "Lara, Then the Ark's voice roared through him again. Control restored. Continue termination. Kael's eyes turned white again. Lara screamed in anger, unleashing a surge of lightning that threw him back. The shockwave rippled across the ocean, splitting the water like a wall. Her energy burned hotter than before, but it also burned her. Her hands trembled, her breath came in gasps. She could feel her body breaking apart under the power. Still, she refused to stop. The Ark began to spin faster, a giant vortex of light forming above it. The Reclaimer fleet in orbit turned their weapons toward Earth, preparing for the final strike. Lara looked at Kael, broken, controlled, fading, and made her choice. She walked to the center of the Ark's core, lightning wrapping around her body. "If I can't save you," she whispered, "then I'll save what you died for." She placed both hands on the glowing sphere at the heart of the Ark. The machine screamed. The sky went white, and then silence. Dr. Mason watched from his bunker as every system on Earth went dark. The satellites, the weapons, the drones. For a moment he thought it was over. Then, slowly, the clouds began to clear. The ocean calmed. The Ark still floated above the Pacific, silent and glowing faintly blue, but Lara and Kael were gone. The ocean was calm for the first time in weeks. The storms had faded. The sky, once filled with thunder and fire, now glowed in pale morning light, but the Ark still hung in the air, silent, broken, glowing faintly above the waves. For the world below, it was over. Or so they believed. Inside the Ark, silence ruled. No alarms, no storms, no sound. Just light, soft blue light pulsing from the walls like a heartbeat, and then a single breath. Lara Kane opened her eyes. She was lying on the metallic floor, her body weak, her mind foggy. The storm was gone, but her veins still glowed faintly with blue energy. She slowly stood up, looking around. "Kael?" she called softly. No answer. The last thing she remembered was the light, her hands on the Ark's core. Kael's eyes fading, and the whole world vanishing into silence. Now, it felt like she was the only living thing left. Lara walked through the empty corridors of the Ark. The metal walls hummed quietly as if alive. Strange symbols glowed on the floor, shifting as she moved. When she reached the central chamber, the core of the Ark floated in mid-air, smaller now, calmer, like a sleeping heart. She touched it gently. "Did we win?" The Ark's voice echoed softly, no longer mechanical, but almost human. "Conflict terminated. Protocol Prime. Restored," Lara frowned. "Restored to what?" "To balance." The lights around her changed, showing holographic images of Earth. The Reclaimer fleet was gone, burned, scattered. The storms had vanished, humanity had survived, but at what cost? A voice came from behind her, weak but familiar. "Looks like you actually did it," Lara turned sharply. Kael Draven stood in the doorway, his armor cracked and his face pale, but alive. "Kael!" she cried, running to him. He smiled faintly. "I told you. You'd outlive me." She helped him sit down beside the core. "You're not supposed to be here," she said softly. He chuckled weakly. "That's what I told myself 1,000 years ago." Lara froze. 1,000 years? Kael looked at her, tired, ancient. "The Stormbreakers weren't built yesterday, Lara. We were made before Earth fell the first time. When the Reclaimers tried to wipe us out, we hid the Ark here, waiting for a signal." Lara's eyes widened. "The forgotten signal," he nodded. "The same one you found. You woke it and woke me." Lara sat beside him, her eyes filled with sadness. "I didn't want to lose you." Kael smiled faintly. "You didn't. You changed me." "You changed it," he pointed to the Ark's core. Its glow pulsed in rhythm with Lara's heartbeat. "The Ark isn't just a weapon anymore," he said. "It's alive because of you." She looked at the glowing sphere. "Alive?" "Yes," Kael whispered. "It learned from you, your will, your emotion, your mercy. You gave it what we couldn't, a soul." For a long time, they sat there in silence, watching the dawn light spill across the waves through the Ark's glass panels. Lara turned to him. "What happens now?" Kael's eyes softened. "Now the world begins again. The storms will fade, the sky will heal, but the Ark will stay, to guide, not to rule," she frowned. "And you?" He looked down at his cracked armor. "My time's almost done. My body's half metal, half memory. I was never meant to last this long." Lara shook her head. "No, Kael, we can fix you. The Ark can heal you," he smiled. "It can't fix what's already free." She didn't understand until he placed her hand over his chest. The light inside him was fading, not dying but transferring. Flowing into her, Kael, "Stop, you'll disappear!" He smiled again. "Someone has to lead the Stormbreakers now. And that someone is you." The Ark's voice filled the chamber once more. Transfer complete. New commander recognized. Lara Kane, Stormbreaker Prime. Lara's eyes glowed softly. "No, I'm not a commander. I'm just," Kael interrupted, his voice barely a whisper. "You're more than that. You're hope." He took one final breath, looking at the dawn beyond the glass. "Tell them we weren't machines. Tell them we remembered what it meant to be human." And then his light faded completely. Lara sat there in silence, tears falling as the Ark hummed gently. Kael was gone, but his voice, His memory, his strength, all lived inside her now. Hours later, the Ark descended slowly toward the ocean. For the first time in centuries, the machine that had once brought war now touched the earth with peace. On every continent, people looked to the sky as beams of blue light spread across the horizon. The storm clouds vanished. The sea became calm. Cities once broken began to rebuild. A single message appeared on every surviving screen across the world. The storm has passed. The world will rise again.